Good morning and welcome to a new lesson of science. Today we are going to introduce the cell. The cell is the smallest part of a living being, and it maintains the fundamental characteristics. Like all the living beings, every cell is born, grows, feeds, reproduces, and then dies. The first cells were observed in 1665 by the English scientist Robert Hooke, who drew a thin slice of cork observed by a simple microscope. Hooke noticed a lot of small holes that remembered him small cells. That's why he called them cells. In the next centuries, he discovered that the cell is at the base of all the living beings. Some of them are formed by only one cell, and they are called unicellular. Some others are called pluricellulars because they are formed by more cells. There are two types of cells. The simplest ones, the first that appeared on the earth, and they are called prokaryote, without a nucleus. In these cells we find a cell membrane that is external, and it encloses a gelatinous substance, the cytoplasm formed by water, organic substances, and mineral salt. In the cytoplasm there are absorbed some organelles that carry out all the vital functions of the cell, and a DNA molecule, the hereditary material where, in a chemical language, we find all the information related to the cell itself. All the living beings are formed by this kind of cell, like bacteria, are simple unicellulars. The more complex one, the eukaryotic, we find the cell membrane bordered by the cytoplasm, where the nucleus is presented and contains the DNA. The nucleus is the center that coordinates all the cell activities. Even in these cells, we find the organelles, but they are more complex of the prokaryote ones. The eukaryote can be unicellular and pluricellular. The eukaryote cells are not all the same, but they present some differences depending from the organism they form, if they are plants or animals. Animals cells. In the cytoplasm we can find organelles, nucleus containing the DNA that coordinate all the cell functions and that maintain all the information required to the production of proteins that carry out a lot of functions. Mitochondria, inside them there is the respiration of the cells that release energy used by the cell to carry out its vital functions. The ribosomes, small organelles, inside them we can find the proteins, the bricks that form the main structures of the cells. The lysosomes, inside them the waste substances are demolished. The Golgi apparatus, that is a series of vesicles with the function of deposit of the substances produced by the cell. The endoplasmic reticulum is a system of canals transporting the substances from one point to another one of the cell. It's wrinkled if the ribosomes are stick to it, or smooth if there are no ribosomes. The vacuoles, organelles with the function of deposit of water, feeding substances or waste substances. The plant cell. The plants live in a different way from the animals, so their cells present some differences. Some organelles are absent, some others are similar to the one of the animals. Others carry out different functions. We have the cell walls, that is a strong protective coating external to the cell membrane, formed by cellulose, a substance that gives strength to the plant cell. The cellulose is used by man to produce paper and other textile fibers. The vacuoles are bigger, depending to the cell animal cells, and they store water, giving strength to the plant cell, and to get all this strength that it needs. The vacuoles can have even the function of reserve, like the one of the potatoes, full of starch, a substance that is of stock. In some cases, the vacuoles can assemble together to form only one that occupy all the volume of the cell. The chloroplasts are organelles typical of the plant cells. They are green because they contain a pigment, the chlorophyll, that helps the chlorophyll photosynthesis, when the plants can produce by themselves their own nourishment using the sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to give glucose, the molecule that gives energy to all the living beings. In the pluricellular organisms, the cell can't live independently, but they have to collaborate among them to make the organism work. The organism can carry different vital functions. That's why the pluricellular cells are specialized, so they get shapes, following different shapes, following the vital function that they have to do. Some cells with the same shapes and function organize themselves in a tissue. The animal tissues can be of 4 types. Epithelia, with the function of coating and protection. Connective, with the function of support like a bone tissue. Reserve, like the adipose tissue, or transport like blood. The muscle tissue is involved in the movement of the organism. The nervous tissue can receive and transmit stimuli from and to the external environment. When more tissues collaborate for a certain function, they give origin to an organ, like the heart, the lungs, and the stomach. More organs performing the same task form an apparatus, like the digestive system, where organs are formed by different tissues, or a system like a muscular system that is formed by only one kind of tissue. The human being is formed by apparatuses and systems.